When anxiety attacks, you can't just be passive and hope that it goes away. There's something that we have to do. During the pandemic, when many things closed down, one Sunday morning, I went to breakfast with my family at this small outdoor restaurant. This is when there were no in-person services, only online. We would record the Sunday service on Friday, so I was free on the weekends. I told my family I have never been to breakfast on a Sunday morning in all of my life. We were always in church. If you were somewhere else on Sunday morning, you were going to hell. But with all this disruption and all the changes, like a lot of people, I felt this uneasiness, this anxiety, like something was wrong. Everything was great in my life, but deep down there was this gnawing, something's not right. Be going through the day, out of nowhere, this sense of gloom, and wake up in the middle of the night, these worrisome thoughts, something I had never experienced. But when anxiety attacks, you can't just be passive and hope that it goes away. There's something that we have to do. Paul said in Philippians 4, be anxious for nothing. That's a bold statement. Come on, Paul. You mean we can not be anxious over the uncertainty in our future? During a pandemic, not be anxious over this medical report, this trouble at work? That seems too good to be true. He goes on to tell us how it can happen. He said, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be known unto God. Paul was saying, when anxiety attacks, don't try to do it on your own. Go to God in prayer. Ask Him for His help. It says to pray with supplication. That means to lower yourself, to go in humility, admitting your dependence on Him. God, I need you. I can't do this on my own. I don't see how my child's going to get back on course. The medical report's not good. God, my finances are low. I'm depending on your goodness, your mercy, your favor. That's praying with supplication. Then it says with thanksgiving. Once you pray, once you cast it on God, you need to shift into a different mindset. No more, God, I'm so worried. I don't see how I'm going to make it. No, don't go to God from a place of anxiety. Go to Him from a place of faith, a place of thanksgiving. That's showing God that you trust Him. God, I thank you that you are working in my life. I know you're bigger than this trouble, bigger than this sickness, bigger than this problem at work. You can stay in peace knowing that God is fighting your battles. He's working out His plan for your life. Paul goes on to say, if you'll go to God with prayer, supplication, and thanksgiving, then here's the promise. The peace of God, which passes all understanding, will guard your heart and mind. Notice, it's the peace of God. It's not normal peace. It's something you can't explain. It's peace in the midst of the storm. It's peace when you're taking the treatment. It's peace when you're going through a breakup. It's peace when you lost your loved one. It's peace when that person did you wrong. People will look at you. Aren't you depressed, worried, anxious? How could you be so happy, so grateful? Just tell them the peace I have didn't come from this world. It's not ordinary. It's peace from my Heavenly Father. It's peace that passes understanding. It's the peace that 3 Hebrew teenagers felt. They wouldn't bow down to the king's golden idol, and he was going to have them thrown into a fiery furnace. They had a great opportunity to be anxious. They were facing an impossible situation. But they understood this principle, that God is in control, that nothing can happen to you without His permission. They made this decision to be anxious for nothing. I'm sure they felt anxiety. They went to God. They asked for His help. They prayed with supplication. They thanked Him. What happened? Peace that passes understanding showed up. They weren't worried, complaining, God, where are you? They weren't fighting with the guards, trying to throw them into the furnace. They had peace when they should have been panicked. They were calm in the midst of chaos. When you learn to cast the worries and cast the anxieties, you'll not only have supernatural peace, but you'll see God do supernatural things. This king was so furious, he told the officials to turn up the fire 7 times hotter than normal. These teenagers said, in effect, "King, you don't control our destiny, God does. If it's not our time to go, this fire is not going to harm us." I can hear him laughing. "Yeah, right, we'll see." They bound their hands and feet, threw them into the fire. In a few minutes, the king came and looked through the furnace window. He said, "Didn't we throw 3 men in bound? I see 4 men loosed, and one looks like the Son of God." They went into the furnace in peace, and the God of peace joined them, just to make sure everything turned out right. If you'll stay in peace, go into the fire, the trouble, the sickness, not upset, anxious, what's going to happen, then the God of peace will join you in the fire. Like them, you'll come out without the smell of smoke. God will fight for you. You may be in that fire now and you're tempted to panic, live uptight. No, it's time to start casting. Cast the care, cast the anxiety, cast the worry. God has you in the palm of His hand. He didn't bring you this far to leave you. He's done it in the past and He's going to do it this time. But defeating anxiety requires trust. You may not know all the answers. You don't see how it can work out, but God has it all figured out. His ways are not our ways. We think natural, but God is supernatural. He's already planned out your days for good. It may not be good right now because there are pieces missing, but when God brings it all together, it will be better than you've imagined. Trust Him when you don't understand. Sometimes we're anxious over the future, over what might happen. Other times we're anxious over the past, mistakes we've made, regrets, things that could come back to haunt us. But I love when God brought the Israelites through the Red Sea. He didn't just make a way for them to escape, but He drowned all of their enemies. If He would have just brought them out, they would have always lived with the threat that the Pharaoh and those powerful warriors could come find them. The Israelites would have lived in fear, always thinking in the back of their mind that they could be coming, looking over their shoulder. There would have been this lingering worry, lingering anxiety they'd always be dealing with. But when God drowned their enemies, He put an end to what could harm them. In other words, He freed them from their past. You may have that lingering anxiety, always trying to remind you of what might happen, those mistakes catching up to you, those regrets coming to light. Can I tell you, the threat has been taken care of. God has put an end to what you're worried about. You don't have to live worried, afraid, anxious. He didn't just part your Red Sea, didn't just bring you through the difficulties, but He's drowned those enemies. He's drowned the guilt, the shame, the opposition. What was trying to harm you has already been defeated. But here's the whole key. The enemy would love for you to live anxious over a threat that's already taken care of. He'll make a lot of noise in your thoughts. What if they come back? What if they make you look bad? What if this taints your future? David said the threats from his enemies were tormenting him. The threats were causing him to have anxiety. Threats can be powerful until you realize those enemies are no longer here. Those enemies have already been defeated. Now you can live free. You can live happy. You can move forward in faith knowing that your past has been taken care of. When those threats come back to your mind, telling you to worry, something's wrong, you feel that anxiety rising up, don't take the bait. Go get your fishing rod and let out a big cast. No thanks, Pharaoh is defeated. My past is forgiven. My enemies have been taken care of. I'm going to live my life in victory.
To continue, please consider watching this video next.